Sarah, we're live on YouTube now, so as soon as everybody's ready, you're good to go.
Thank you for letting me know. I'm just waiting for our other employees and board members. I just sent a text to Neil and Alva that there was a new meeting link, just so they know.
Did you guys get the text from Alva? I think she's having trouble.
No, I didn't. I'll check now. Jacob, did she get the new email link?
They said they're waiting for someone to let them in.
Okay. Nicole,
Tim just sent them. Yeah. Okay, I think Tim just sent them.
okay.
There he is.
Okay. Are we all ready? Thank you guys for your patience. Just had technical issues. So we are at 1.4, reconvene back into open session. We do not need to report out at this time because there was not a vote taken in closed session. So we are on to agenda item 2, the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Passes 5-0. We on to number 4, reports, information, and correspondence. I haven't received any emails today. Nicole, did you receive anything from SRTA or CSEA?
There wasn't anything.
Okay, yeah, I didn't receive anything either. So we're gonna go on to the superintendent's cabinet. Tim, do we have a report from nutritional services this week? Okay. Then we're gonna go on, Mr. Sandoval, Mr. Victor Sandoval, maintenance.
Good evening, good evening, everybody. MOT doesn't really have a lot to report this week. However, just the little things. My grounds department is quite excited because they're getting their new mower on Friday, and that's replacing Big Red. Big Red is very old, and it's not doing so well, but they're excited to get their new John Deere, and so hopefully by Friday they're going to be cutting some more grass. So I don't know if they're excited or not, but I'm sure. Anyways, we did have a very good meeting with Bobby Sox today, which was really good. Tim and I actually met in person, and we did some layouts, and we talked about ADA and fencing that they want to install. And I think we might have a resolution to the facilities use agreement. So with that, the other thing that I want to kind of mention is that we're getting a stream of equipment that we ordered about several months ago. I would say 3 or more for the COVID stuff. And so as soon as it comes in, we're installing like the battery operated hand soap dispensers, and we're waiting for the sanitizing dispensers also. So other than that, I mean, it's quite short today.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Ms. Soriano?
Yes, I just want to thank Tim and Victor for getting that all ready for Bobby Sox. That's one of the things that I really was hoping to get done. I know there were so many things that came before that. There was a lot other priorities, I guess I should say, but I know it's been in the works for getting it all done, and I'm just really happy that it's now getting approved. So hopefully I think it's on our agenda, right?
It is on our agenda. We have 2 more items that we have to get approval from legal counsel, and we will be able to work those out. So I promise you, it's going to be on the next agenda for approval. So we'll have to pull that tonight. We put it on because we thought we might get done today, but there were just 2 more questions they had. and they're really kind of legal questions. So I told them, just give them to me and we'll work through it. Whatever it is, we can find a solution that's beneficial to both sides. And because we're, you know, there is no two sides. We'll just find something beneficial for everyone.
Right. And nobody's playing ball right now anyway. So, I mean, but we still need to get that done. But thank you anyways for working on that.
It'll be in November, Elva, I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Samudio?
Good evening, everyone. So at this time of the year, our business department is working on reporting cash management reports for the first quarter, like our after-school program for ACES or Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV cash management reports. We are also just completed, not sure if I provided you this information on the prior meeting, but just completed the second report for COVID-19 funds. And we're still looking at for December 30th as our last day to spend those funds for that specific grant. I also spent the last weeks working on the AB 1200, which is the public disclosure that you have on the agenda for both classified and certificated. It's about 17-page document that we process and then we submit for Monterey County Office of Education for approval. I did attach the agreement and the MOU and also the letter from MCOE approving the agreement, pretty much saying that yes, we can afford to pay for this expense within the MOU. We're also getting ready for our next budget report, which is the first interim. So we're starting to look at position control at our vacancies and working in collaboration with Becky and Human Resources Department. We're also working on a cool project for stipends, and we're pretty much the goal is to provide more resources and tools to our school sites, principals, to make sure that in the future we have better procedures when processing payments for stipends and making sure that we don't miss anyone. That's pretty much what we have in our department, and as usual, making payments, making sure we process payroll and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. On to student services.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Like MOT, I don't have many items to report, which I always feel like is a good thing. So I'm working on, we have an individual who is on some leave time. So I'm working on filling that with some short-term positions or an individual who can help us out. I'm also working on adding some additional counseling services. I think I'm going to work with Eluma is a web-based virtual program that we actually started using 2 years ago. And it's been a blessing during this distance learning because they're fully equipped with all the tools needed to assist students, whether it's related services in speech and OT, but they also provide a pretty comprehensive set of services in other areas. So I'm going to be working with Eluma next week to talk about getting some extra counseling on board. We're beginning to see a need. And we've students working in isolation, some of them at home all day long. And I think it's taking its toll. And it'll just allow another resource that our students can reach out to and get a connection with when our own counselors are, already inundated, especially with the current situation that we're dealing with. So the other thing, just a quick report, our program Attention to Attendance, October 1st, we started tracking not attendance so much as just engagement in the distance learning process. So we started out with some proposed attendance codes to see how they would work. You have to have a starting point. So we'll be working and getting some feedback from principals how those codes are working, and do we need to adapt the engagement codes a little bit based on what we're seeing. At this point in time, there are no strong language truancy letters coming out. Truancy is very hard to track right now and very hard to prove. Parents aren't going to get prosecuted at this point for truancy, but we still need to track the level of engagement. So the letters that A2A are sending out, they're a little bit softer language than what we might use, but it's just saying, we want to let you know we haven't seen your student check in 3 times in the last 2 weeks. And then it will list contact numbers and how to reach out for help if you need help or support. So right now we're keeping it, I think, appropriate, but a little bit benign as well. We're feeling families being under just the stress isn't getting less, it's getting worse actually. So we just want to make sure that parents are aware if we haven't seen their child checking in, even though I'm 100% confident they've been notified by their child's teacher, that they then get a letter from the principal stating, hey, we're concerned and we're here for you and how can we help? And that's all I have for this evening. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them as well.
Thank you, Nadine, for doing that. And I know as a teacher, I appreciate the backup when there's somebody other than me that people are getting a message from. So I think that it really does help. So thank you. Okay, to human resources.
Thank you. We have been busy working on a couple of big projects. One is our 2019-20 credential assignment monitoring using the new CalSAS system that ties in with CalPADS. We had 144 exceptions to work through, and a lot of that is just based on CalPADS coding errors within our courses. So we're working on cleaning that up, letting the county office know where the real exceptions are and which things are just things that we need to fix on our end so that they can report that to the state. The 2019-20 monitoring is non-consequential, but it's giving us some good insight for what we need to really pay attention to for our 2021 monitoring that will happen in the spring. We're also preparing for open enrollment for MCSIG benefits that will begin next week. So we've been working with the team at MCSIG to set up some Zoom meetings for our employees to get information about the plans and the changes that are coming out with the plans, as well as figuring out a schedule when HR staff can go to school sites to make the pickup or drop off of change forms more easy for our employees. So information about that has begun to our employees and will continue through the month of November. And then I've also been having check-in meetings with all of our teacher interns and pre-interns. We finished our first quarter of school, and I just wanted to check in with them and find out how they're doing with their credential progress, as well as see if there's any support that they need from us to help them to be successful. So that's been going really well. Our next round for check-ins will be in January. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, educational services.
It's been a rough week, and just working with my colleagues, Becky and Nadine, making sure that everyone has the resources they need to help each other, themselves, and their students get through this difficult time that we're going through as a district. We're wrapping up our initial LPAC testing and should have that sent off. It's been an interesting process doing this online, but it speaks to what the future might hold in terms of our spring assessment batteries that come from the state. And it was a good experience, sort of a small version of what we can expect. And so we were able to identify issues and sort of get in front of them. And so it's been a great help having Nicole Jensen and Karen Yoder step in to assist our academic coaches and our ELTOSs at the middle school with getting those assessments done and making sure accommodations are uploaded properly and everything in this new online assessment method that we're instituting this year.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, we're gonna go to board reports. So Mr. Jacob Sandoval, I'm gonna start with you.
The only thing I have to report is I drive through Bolson Knolls on my way home all the time, and it just I guess the community impact that's happened with the loss of John and stuff. So it just I don't know, it just breaks my heart.
Thank you. Ms. Hargy Saldana?
I really don't have anything to report either, but I do want to publicly express my condolences to the family, to all of Mr. Gutierrez, to all of the staff and family at Bolson Knolls, and just say how much we appreciate that we were part of his legacy.
Thank you. Ms. Arellano?
I have nothing to report, but again, just like Jacob and Mrs. Saldana expressed, I too send my condolences. They go out to the Gutierrez family. So it's a big loss, and I will keep praying for the family. But thank you.
Mr. Patel?
Thank you. I don't know what to say. When I think about John Gutierrez, I think about relationships. I think about how many relationships he has made in the 31 years that he's been part of this district. 1/3 of a century. A man has dedicated his life to our district. I've talked to many teachers and parents, and the sadness, the level of grief is, I haven't seen this. I mean, I've been in Salinas for many years, and I've not seen this level of outpouring for a principal, in my lifetime. And so, I often think of what would John do, and John was a very straightforward guy, humble. I think the most thing people remember about him is that great voice of his, nice and deep bass baritone type of voice. And, he was a tall figure, not only in actual height, but also in the levels of depth he would go to in terms of helping people. I look forward to see what this board and our community come up with in terms of a commemoration of some type to honor the great legacy that he lives behind for us to try to continue with. My heart goes out to their family. Today I was looking at my text messages, and John and I were talking, last time we talked, we were talking about our kids and us going to Washington. And then John says, well, what kind of hell are we gonna raise over there together? And that's the type of guy he was. He'd always try to joke around a little bit and try to make you feel comfortable. And so I just want to say thank you to John for his service to our district. Thank you for the thousands of students and families who you've touched and educated over the years. And that's it. I'm just rambling. I apologize. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. No, I loved John's voice too. And I actually was at a community meeting about traffic one time, and somebody at the meeting came up to me and complained that John was so loud that they could hear the announcements at their house. And I just didn't even pass that on. I just tucked that in my pocket because I thought, I'm not gonna get somebody in trouble for doing their job. I thought, maybe, sir, that you needed to hear those announcements, but I didn't say that. I just said that to him, thank you, I'll take it under advisement, and then didn't pass it on to anyone. I've talked to Tim and some other people that this is going to be a process about, us honoring him in the right way. And there is going to come a point when we're past COVID that we can come together in the kind of joyful community celebration that he was great at. And he he loved to bring people joy. So that time is going to come too. I'm going to switch topics for a second, just to ask my fellow board members and cabinet members. The Monterey County School Boards Association is looking for our input for their Excellence in Education Award that they do every year. Last year they honored First Tee, who unfortunately did not get their banquet because of COVID, but were the recipient of the 2020 Excellence in Education Award. And the criteria is that it has to be either a government or nonprofit agency that has an educational benefit that's open to all students in Monterey County. We can nominate more than one organization if we can think of someone. I personally would be interested in us nominating the Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History, just because they do amazing free field trips and science activities and art activities and history activities that are available to all kids in the county. And they also, they're aware of people's inability to pay. So even when their activities are free, they do grants to pay for busing to get kids to be able to go there. So they really do have an emphasis on inclusion that I really appreciate. If there is another organization that people have thought of that they are interested in putting forward to be nominated, if you just please email me within the next week or so, so that I can pass that on, because they will take multiple nominations from a district, and then it's discussed at the Monterey County School Boards Association meeting in the spring, and then voted on. So, and then I'm gonna transition back from that to that we're gonna take a moment of silence for John. And I would just ask you to really make it a memory of him making our lives better, because that's what he was about. Okay, thank you. And I hope that you get to share that memory with someone, and it brings you some joy as well as the sadness that we're dealing with right now. I'm going to go on to Mr. Ryan and the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Sarah. Just wanted to follow up with some things Neil was saying and you were saying about memorializing John's 30 plus years of service. And I'm just gonna see with your okay, without any reservations, I'd like to establish a superintendent's advisory committee to explore appropriate ways in which we could do that. And so the reason I'm requesting it to be a superintendent's advisory committee is because if we do a board's advisory committee, it falls under the Brown Act. The meetings would have to be agendized. We would not be able to discuss it away from the table if there were, more than a quorum. And it kind of, this way I can reach out to people personally, and I can engage people in small groups, and we don't fall underneath those restrictions. And I think it would just, I would get a much better cross-section of people's opinions on this subject that I think that we need in order to go move forward. Like you said, Sarah, once COVID is lifted and we can get back together and celebrate his life and his contributions to the district. The only thing else I would have to say is just, the purpose of these committees are, well, they're required, first of all, by our board policies, but also I spoke with John's son, Josue, yesterday afternoon, and and the thing he said that stuck with me was this would go a long way with their grieving process for us to engage just in this process and listen to people talk about his father. And so that came up in the principals meeting as well, that when I talked to them, because I said, for a lack of a better metaphor, John basically birthed this school. It was his baby. He saw it as something that he helped bring into the world. And for a man, that's probably, well, it's the closest we're going to get. But I just think that, I think John would like that metaphor. I just, knowing John the way I did, I think he would like that metaphor. The conversation I had with Josue was very insightful, and let me know where the family was, and they are in favor of us moving forward with this process. And he brought up the fact that it really would help his family go through the grieving process. And I thought when he said that, well, then it's going to help this family, the Santa Rita family, go through this grieving process as well, because it'll give us a chance. And it's so hard with the way things are now to actually get together and talk about John and the memories that we have. So I'm going to use this process twofold. One, to come back and make a recommendation for you sometime probably right after Christmas. And then the other thing is to use it to help everybody have a chance to process the grief that they're experiencing right now. The Santa Rita family is their hearts are broken right along with the Gutierrez family. And I'll just echo what all of you have said. My heart and my prayers are with the Gutierrez family and the Bolsonols family that John left behind, and that we will come together again, as you said, when the sun shines again, Sarah, and we'll have time to be able to have those times and share those stories and laugh and remember John in warmer days. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for going forward with the committee. I know that it's important to all of us. This would be the point of the meeting where we would have public comment, but we actually haven't received any.
Sarah, this is Nicole. Actually, there is one.
Okay.
To you, but if you want me to read it, it's actually from SRTA. It came in after you asked. So.
Thank you. Nicole, if you wouldn't mind reading it, I would really appreciate it.
Sure. Good evening, trustees. First, we'd like to express our sincere condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of John Gutierrez. His influence on our members will always remain in our hearts and shine out to our students. This week, elementary teachers are finding success with meeting with families for conference week. Just as the middle school conferences, it seems easier for parents to attend virtually. Many school sites have celebrations planned for our communities to celebrate Halloween this week. As we move into the holidays, teachers are doing their best to keep things normal with activities. Thank you, Kate Stover, SRTA President.
Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate that. So we're going to go on to 6.1, approve renewal of a 3-year agreement with School Innovations and Achievement.
That's one of my items. This is for a renewal for a 3-year agreement with School Innovations and Achievement. And as provided on the cover sheet for the agenda item, this is an ongoing services that we've been doing with School Innovations on the last years. There's not changes compared to the last contract. The fees are the same. These are the services that we get in regards to filing the mandated cost claims. There's about 48 of them, and within those 48, there's probably like around 100 ed codes that we need to follow. School services come to the district, or actually right now they can physically come here, but they request a lot of documentation from us. They review and they do an audit for our districts on the things that the tools that we use for employee evaluations, anything with student records, immunization cards. So it's pretty much the same services that they do every year to make sure that we are following the ed codes required by the California Department of Education and to be able to qualify for the reimbursements for these claims.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve 6.1.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Going on to 6.2, approve AB 1200 for amendment to collective bargaining agreement with CSCA Chapter 503.
So this is the document that I previously was mentioning and talking about it. It's about 17-page document. And the first one is for the classified bargaining unit. It is in relation to the MOU that was previously approved. On the public disclosure, I placed the letter from Monterey County Office of Education approving the cost of this MOU. And then at the end of the public disclosure, I also included the agreement and the MOU, and I highlighted the areas that belongs to the expenses as well. As you can see on the MOU, there was the agreement for the $500 stipend to all union members that are required to work on site during the distance learning. The other financial impact was the $35 stipend to all union members who are required to work from home. And also the district agreed within the MOU to pay the custodian a reclassification temporarily for this year on range 19, and all documentation is included in there. The total cost is $162,089. And as you can see, most of the cost is going to be covered through COVID-19 funds, and only $27,000 out of the unrestricted fund of one. I don't know if you got a chance, or if you take a look on page 14 of the AB 1200, every time that we increase the expenses, pretty much we have to reduce our expenses in another area. So this is pretty much because on the financial situation that we are right now, we cannot increase without decreasing somewhere else. So as you can see, that's what we do to be able to balance the budget and making sure that we don't deficit spend. And I'm open for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your diligence with this. We really appreciate it, especially since I know that everything in regards to COVID changes on almost a daily basis. Are there any questions before we approve this? We've discussed it, as we've gone through. Okay, could I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve 6.2.
I got a second from Ms. Ariano. Ms. Ariano, you're muted, but I can see you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Okay, so we're going to go on to the other half of this. 6.3, approve AB 1200 for amendment to the collective bargaining agreement with SRTA.
Yes, so this is for the certificated union agreement and the MOU that also the board previously approved and reviewed. This is the financial impact is for $6,264. This is for the district agreeing on paying $35 internet stipend for teachers working remotely because of medical illness. And as you can see in this document as well, I do have the letter from Monterey County Office of Education saying that we are able to meet the financial responsibility for this cost. This is also coming out of the COVID-19 funds. And also I have a copy of the MOU at the very end of the public disclosure. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve 6.3.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0. 6.4, we're going to continue until the next meeting because we have a couple issues to hammer out there. So we're going to go on to 8.1, approve the teacher assignment under local assignment option Cal Ed Code 44256B. Ms. Moore?
Thank you. There was a need this year, particularly due to COVID-19, for Brenda Burrett Gutierrez to teach math. She meets the requirements with the number of lower division semester units in math to teach under local assignment option within the Ed Code. And so her consent is attached to the board agenda for that.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, could I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. So we're at 8.2, approve unpaid leave for employee 159598. And when we adopted the agenda earlier, I mentioned that there were two different dates, one date on the summary and one date on the background. We had adopted the agenda, just amending that it was the dates on the background that we were discussing and not the date on the summary. So Ms. Moore, if you could take it from here.
Thank you. This employee has been on an unpaid leave and is requesting an extension of that unpaid leave through March 31st for personal reasons.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, if I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the unpaid leave through March.
Motion to approve.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, so that is it for our agendized items. Board members, is there anything that you would request to be specifically agendized at our next meeting or future meetings? Bobby Sox has continued to the next meeting, and Tim will continue to report out regarding the superintendent's committee regarding Mr. Gutierrez. Are there any other issues that we would like agendized?
Sarah, I just want to report that there is a change in the next board meeting because it should fall on the 11th, but that's Veterans Day. So we're actually scheduling it for the Tuesday before Veterans Day so we can have it. Because if we don't do that, we won't have any board meetings now until December. So
Yeah, okay. So just that we're all aware that it's going to be Tuesday, November 11th.
10th.
Sorry, we're trying to avoid Veterans Day. I apologize.
Yeah,
Tuesday, right. November 10th. So any other questions or concerns before we adjourn? Okay, so again, we will next be meeting on the 10th. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn at 6:47.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. And thank you to everybody's hard work. We really appreciate it. We'll see you all on the 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you.